Hello, we're going to make 4 designs that match and are themed. Let's start off by making a new file. We will go ahead and go with the 8.5 by 11-inch page to ensure we have plenty of room. And you can find that under print if you don't have that in your recents. Change the color mode to CMYK color for dye sub printing. Ensure you have 300 pixels per inch. Create that new document. And first thing we're going to do is save this document. We'll go up to the File menu and we will save as. I am going to name this MBS, which are my unique unit initials, and MAG. MAG is all you need, but it's a NAG. Magnet is what we will be doing with this. Now, what I would like for you to do is to save to cloud documents. If this isn't showing up, let me know and let's make sure that you are saving to cloud documents. The benefit to this MBS Magnet is that you will be able to get your files from home. And if you show up during tutorial and somebody else is already using your computer, you'll be able to access your files from a different computer, and it can save some of your work as you go. Let's start doing that regularly. You'll see there's a little C there when it's saved in the cloud. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is make some squares. I have my square tool here. If yours isn't showing up, you can right click and you'll see that all the shape tools are there, but the rectangle tool is what I want. Just go ahead and make a rectangle, especially since I have my measurements in millimeters. And so that was just a rectangle. My properties panel opened up, which we need. If it doesn't open up for you or it's not already there, go to Windows and open up your properties. I like to have my navigator open all the time, and layers we want to be showing. All right, so I am going to remove the fill on, actually I'll keep the fill because I'm going to be using this rectangle, this square to mask out my object, and it's easier to select the objects when they have a fill. So I'm going to go to my width and I'm going to, there's a few ways to change the units in Photoshop. You can right click on the units and you'll get options there. The easiest way is just to type it all in. So we want our squares to be 52 millimeters square because the face of the magnet is 50 millimeters. And so that will leave us with a little bit of a border so we can align our image on the product blank. So here's my 52 millimeter square. We'll actually be making 4 of these, but I'm going to go through the process of masking and making my background before I go through, before I copy it, because they're all going to have the same background, but different subjects in the foreground. So I am going to place embedded because I've already downloaded the images that I want. And so they're on my computer. If you're using the files that are in my Google Drive folder, you'll just need to download them and then you'll be placing embedded. Otherwise, you can drag them onto the Photoshop logo to get them into a new tab. Not from Creative Cloud, from my files on my computer, on the desktop, and I have my painting backgrounds, and I was going to do Starry, Starry Night. Now I can see that as I'm skewing this, it's, the aspect ratio is changing. So I'll do a Command Z on my MacBook. It's always Control if you're on a PC. Command Z to take it back. And my Photoshop is set up to where when I hold the Shift key, it will maintain the aspect ratio. So it just depends on how your Photoshop is set up. I'm going to go ahead and change the opacity of that layer to less so I can see through it and get an idea of what parts I want to mask on there. I'm like, do I want the castle? I think so. I want less. I want it kind of like that. Okay, so I'll bring the opacity back up and I will hide that image. just because that's going to make it really easy for me to select that purple rectangle. I'll be able to go up to the select menu and hit, oh, it doesn't want me to select subject because I do not have that layer selected. Select subject, and it's going to have a real easy time selecting that square because it's the only purple thing on the page. All right, so now that I have the square selected, I will return to my Starry Night Van Gogh layer. I will have to show it, and then I will hit the masking key, which is hidden right here. Boop. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete the rectangle. I do not need it. I've got this Starry Night. It's going to be my magnet backing. And let me copy it. I can do a Command C, Command V, and I'll do it again and again. So now I have 4 of them. Let me just line them up. I don't care where they are on the page because you're not actually going to get this printed. You will only crop one of them to be printed, so they could be all over the place. And then the one that you want to actually be printed, we will, you'll crop it and send that to the printer. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in using my navigator. That's why I like having the navigator here. Then I can move that to just focus on one of these images. Now, the next thing we're going to do is bring in 4 different portraits. They can be people or they could be animals, but they shouldn't be like objects. They should be people or animals. I am going to place embedded. My idea was to do the artists that died in '69, Jimmy, Janice, and Jim, but I got to come up with a 4th one. So I'll hold my shift key because Jimmy is muy grande. All right, and now I'll get back to where I can see what's happening. All right. I think I'll just close that out because I don't need any more squares and stuff. Okay, so I think the easiest thing to do here, let me hide all of those squares that I'm not using right now. And lastly, I'll hide the one I am working on. But now that I just have Jimmy there, I will probably very easily be able to go up to select subject. And since he's on a light background, I bet you Photoshop is going to do a pretty darn good job. And I'll go ahead and mask out Jimmy. And let's see if he's looking good on top of my starry night background. Yes, that's awesome. Okay, so that's pretty much what it's going to look like, except we have one more thing we need to do before this project is done. We are going to use a filter layer, and we are going to make our subject also look like it is a painting. So let me hide that last guy and go back to select. I could probably just say reselect because the last thing it had was Jimmy. Oh, but I moved him. So Command D to unselect, deselect, and I will just select Jimmy and say select subject again. It'll find him after I moved him. Okay, now we're going to show that background image. I have Jimmy selected, and I'm going to go up to filter and where's my filter gallery? How come it won't let me open my filter gallery? Okay. So I guess the filter gallery is turned off in CMYK mode. So let's go up to image and change our mode to RGB color. I know it's going to affect it, but I don't know. All right, so there we go. So now I can grab Jimmy and go up to select and say reselect and go up to filter and open up my filter gallery, which is going to just allow a few more filters. Let me zoom in here so I can see what it's going to look like. All right, so this currently has film grain applied to it. Let me try dry brush. which is a little painty. But what we're going to do is we'll mess with these things. You can make the brush smaller or larger and give it more detail. Oh, that's not looking like a painting. You can give it more texture. Yeah, so I think it was pretty good at first, but see how much more that looks like a painting? That's what we're looking for. I think a small brush. I want it to look a little big and chunky because it's Starry, Starry Night, and that'll hopefully match it a little bit. Um, let's try paint daubs and see what that looks like. So we got options. There's a few ways to give us an effect like, oh, geez, like it's a painting. Paint daubs isn't doing as much. Well, that looks painting like. Oh yeah, there we go. We just start fiddling around with it, but I think dry brush I think is going to look a little bit better with Starry Starry Night. And as I do a Command D. So that's the idea. Jimmy is now painted and he's in a painting. So then I would go through and repeat by bringing in a different portrait for my other 4 images, but I'm only going to make one. And so I can make a rectangular selection around Jimmy and make it pretty close to the printing. What am I doing? I'm cropping. Image, crop. And then we go to File and we will export. Quick export as PNG. It'll have that same file name, which is a requirement, your name and mag or magnet, and save that. And then I recommend you go up to edit and say undo crop and, save your final project. Still getting saved in the cloud. You know what? Yeah, I'll save it in the cloud. So here's my Janis Joplin version. What I would like for you to do on something like this is go ahead and just, is that not the eraser tool? Oh, I'm on the background, erasing the background. Control Z. All right, grab the Janis layer and must be rasterized. Okay, do what you need to do, Photoshop, and just delete that down there. Stay, you don't have to be, just get rid of any excess so that you don't have to mask that image. Just erase it. All right, that's it. Have a lovely day.